Morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tea with Z. My name is Zamel Solanki, and it's an absolute pleasure to be joining each and every one of you this morning for another episode today. And I hope each and every one of you had an amazing weekend. And as you can see right now, we're changing up the times a little bit, leading up into Christmas, just to mix things up a little bit. But as you know, if you are watching this, likes, hearts, let's get that energy exchange going. Come on now, some likes, some hearts. And if you are watching a replay as well, definitely jump on and do the same. So some likes, some hearts, get it pumping. Let's get this energy going for this Monday morning. Some of you might be waking up a little bit weary after maybe some pre-Christmas celebrations. I know I caught up with some mates over the weekend, but pretty tame. Syra's loving to get up at 4:35 at the moment, which is okay. But at the end of the day, kind of want to also know, when these public holidays start rolling around, that you can have maybe a little bit of a sleep in as well. But talk about morning routines. She's the one that wants that get up and go morning routine. So, all right. But I hope you each had an amazing weekend. Now, if you haven't yet joined the Limitless Network, a special shout out to those that are joining us from the Limitless Network, and the details are in the description box below. So go and check that out. But each and every day, we want to really, I guess, dive into these topics that are coming up for a lot of people. And if you do want to interact throughout the conversation as well, and like I said, this is a conversation. We drive interaction through conversation. So drop your comments in the comment section below, and they can pop up as well. Because at the end of the day, this is all about having a chat, and having a chat during these particular times, or having a conversation as healthpreneurs with those that are feeling a little bit anxious or feeling worrisome, fearful, or even to some degree actually panicked because of what is happening right now. So I was watching, the news a little bit this morning, and we're seeing, these case numbers growing. That's what the flavor of the day, each and every day now. We're seeing talk about restrictions being imposed. We're talking about, what's going to happen with travel arrangements. We're just seeing now in South Australia, and if you're watching from South Australia, shout out to you, about, these people that are actively, actually knowingly positive and still going out into the community and, jeopardizing a lot of people's plans for Christmas. We're seeing now 150 to 200 people in quarantine and isolation less than 1 week out of Christmas, who have done, I guess you could say, the right thing. They've done, gone out, had a good time, but, checked in and gone to a venue, but, getting it spoilt by, literally one person who's, in my opinion, has done the wrong thing, who's done knowingly gone out and actually spread this condition. Now, when we looked at, and we covered this off last week, it was either last week or the week before, where there's that fear of being judged about, well, okay, well, if I don't knowingly have COVID and I go out and I get a test and I'm asymptomatic, and then a couple of days later I get some symptoms and then I go get a test. Well, what's the media going to spin about that? Well, from my heart to yours, if you're doing the things that, you love, but also then making sure that you're trying to protect yourself and protect others by following, all of the health advice. But also, if you're asymptomatic, we all know that we can be carriers and not even know it. So from my heart to yours, if you fall into that, realm of being a carrier, not knowing it, going to an event, it's okay. There's going to be more than just you doing that. All of us could be potentially at one point in time unknowingly be spreading it. But as healthpreneurs, how can we now, knowing that, I guess that's the case, knowing that we can unknowingly be spreading coronavirus, or even this Omicron variant, which is definitely flared up at the moment and definitely bringing about all the fear and the panic that we're seeing. What can we be doing to limit this? Or what can we as healthpreneurs be doing to ensure that we're still communicating and alleviating the concerns of our community and our patients? Well, firstly, one is, reinforce and uphold the health advice and even go beyond it. If there isn't a mandate to wear masks in your environment right now, we know that this is coming out. Queensland, I'm based in Queensland at the moment, and we've seen masks being reintroduced, but really haphazardly. I was in Coles yesterday, major grocery chain, and I'm seeing plenty of people walking around without masks on. And I'm like, how is this mask mandate being actually mandated? And, then it comes down to going, oh, well, it falls down, and I guess you start opening up the debate about, well, are the retailers now having to be the police and starting to police it? And I know hand on heart how hard that is sometimes, working in a pharmacy and in a healthcare environment, even in a healthcare environment, reinforcing and encouraging people to put a mask on and to make sure that they're sanitized, to even check in. But how can we be prioritizing that? And my biggest clues is, well, if you're seeing other people taking an interest in this, support that. Support that. If you yourself don't believe in the mask mandate, that's fine. That's fine. But don't, I guess, force your beliefs onto other people. And you can be, I guess, looking at the other side of that coin going, whoa, look, I don't want to, why are people wearing masks forcing their beliefs onto me? That's their choice. If they want to wear a mask, that's fine. That's their choice. But let me ask you this. At the end of the day, the mask isn't about protecting necessarily yourself. It's about protecting others from being around you. Or not from being, but from contracting an illness around you. That's the whole point of this. It's also to create spatial awareness and going, wait a minute. Oh, yes, we are actually in a pandemic, because we are so blessed in this country to be largely, for most states and territories, now out of significant levels of restrictions, where we're seeing elements of like the Netherlands now going back into lockdown, literally 1 week out of Christmas. And we've seen this morning that the advice is, that's very unlikely to be happening here, which is great news. But it's important that we remain vigilant. And as healthpreneurs, how can we then not just remain vigilant, but also calm the nerves, calm the fear, and calm the anxieties? Well, one, it's about going back to the basics of when the pandemic first started. What did we do? We focused on sanitization. We focused on cleanliness. We focused on social distancing. We focused on ensuring that we're wearing a mask. Coming back to those basic principles now. Like, I was even in a fine dining restaurant a week ago, and I'm seeing the wait staff, and this isn't bagging out hospitality staff or whatever, but I'm seeing the wait staff which interact with a lot of people, and unfortunately, the server that served us go to the bathroom. I was in the bathroom at the same time and didn't wash his hands. And it's just these sorts of elements right now that going, well, wait a minute, you're in a highly transmissible area. You're in a highly transmissible environment. How are you playing your game to ensure that you're limiting the spread? And it's 2021. We're about to hit 2022, and we're still educating people about how to wash their hands. And to me, that just blows my mind. To me, that just blows their mind. It's the most simplest forms of acts. And even if you're not washing your hands in the bathroom, go and use the sanitizer that's straight outside it. You're still sanitizing your hands. The point of washing your hands is to sanitize your hands, whether it's using an alcohol-based sanitizer or water and soap, whatever it is. These are the most basic fundamental principles. But now also then going back to the basics of going, well, our teams are going to be starting to worry about this. Because if somebody comes in and they're deemed a close contact, that's going to ruin their Christmas as well. So how are you splitting these shifts? Are you now back to A and B teams? And you might be wondering, oh my God, we're in the busiest part of the year. How are we going to do A and B split teams? But you've done it before. You've done it before. When the pandemic first hit, we all went into, well, so many of us went into a panicked state and started panic buying. And yet you were able to split your teams to A and B teams, regardless of that massive rush. And so, as a healthpreneur, how are you not only just alleviating the concerns of your community, but also the concerns of your team? How are you doing that? Because at the end of the day, how are you ensuring that your team, when you now need them the most to step up to ensure that they are performing at the highest of standards, at for some businesses, November, December is half their yearly revenue. And so, how are you ensuring that their mental health and well being is all okay as well? So, that's my question to you right now is how are you handling the panic? How are you handling the panic as a healthpreneur, not only for yourself, but to alleviate the concerns of others around you? Knowing that we are now on an increasing trajectory of case numbers, but also the increased then likelihood of being impacted by it. And I'm not talking about necessarily the impacts of hospitalization and things like that. We're still seeing our amazing healthcare system. Trust me, we have one of the most amazing healthcare systems in the world. I've worked in third world countries, and we are very, very blessed to have what we have. And as a result of that, well, how can we best support those people that are on, I guess, still these front lines? We're still in a pandemic. We kind of forget that because we start to ease restrictions and forget all of a sudden that, wait a minute, there's still frontline workers out there that are still on the other end of that. But how are we easing the panic? How are we addressing this sense of panic that is only going to build during this week? And as this sense of panic grows during this week, we'll cover off more tips and tricks throughout this week to help alleviate this worry, But firstly, what I wanted to cover today is get back to basics. Even if it's not mandated for you, even yourself, just to help protect yourself, just get back to basics. Get back to basics. Not in lockdown, thankfully. But what I'm saying is get back to basics. If you yourself can get back to your basics and then your community and empower your community to really just get back to basics, that's going to present an overall sense of calm. Because at the end of the day, you know that you're doing whatever you can right now to limit what is coming, to limit that sense of fear. So that's my food for thought for you today. Is as healthpreneurs, how are you going to handle the panic? Because it is coming. It is coming. And my first thought is getting back to basics, but having an open and honest conversation with your team as well, with your community, with your customers, with your patients. What are they specifically fearful about? Because at the end of the day, you might be making assumptions of their fears. But by making assumptions of their fears, what are you doing? You're just assuming you're just assuming what they're going through. But how can you have an open and honest conversation about it? And it all starts with just getting back to basics. So that's it from me today. Have an absolutely incredible week. A little bit full on this topic, but I really wanted to mention it because I just started over the weekend seeing this level of anxiety starting to pick up in our community. And now we're seeing crazy things happening around the country, not just from the Omicron variant, but from Christmas panic, from nature events. We're seeing, so my heartfelt goes out to those in New South Wales that are, and even Tasmania that have, going through some crazy, crazy weather at the moment. And even up on the northern end of our country as well. So from my heart to yours, have an absolutely amazing week, but stay calm, because at the end of the day, if we're a community, we're in this together. And if you are worried, go and have a chat to your healthcare team. Go and have a chat to a trusted advisor that can give you information to help calm you. Not to necessarily spread information and fuel your fears. No, that's not what it's about. It's about having a chat to somebody that can calm your nerves. And so that's it from me today. So from my heart to yours, have an absolutely amazing day. Stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to catching up with you again on another episode tomorrow. Bye for now.